Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday. Whenever we look at one like this, um, we did this one yesterday actually, with the 2 plus I, and then square root of 3 and 1. Whenever we do one like this, it can be more difficult because we have the 1 plus square root of 2 here. So we still have to treat this like using the complex conjugate theorem and the rational roots theorem, so that this is going to have to be a plus and a minus option as well. And so the first thing I can do is I can do the x minus 3, and I'm going to leave that out in front and kind of not deal with it until later. Then we have x plus 2i and x minus 2i. Remember, there's two different options for that. After that, we're going to have x minus, and then this is now going to become a parentheses, one plus the square root of 2, and then x minus 1 minus the square root of 2. 1 minus square root of 2. Okay, so this starts by looking super complicated. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply these out by each other. So x times x gives me x squared. The outer, doing x times negative 2i, gives me negative 2xi. The inner gives me positive 2xi. So negative 2xi plus 2xi cancels those out. So I don't even have to rewrite those. They're just gone. Lastly, I have 2i times negative 2i, and that gives me a negative 4i squared. We all know that I squared is equal to negative 1. So this is like negative 4 times negative 1. So that part of it becomes an x squared plus 4. Just replacing that I squared with a negative 1 and doing negative 4 times negative 1. Okay. So that part's done. We still have the x minus 3 out in front. Now this part here is where it gets a little more complicated. So first I'm going to multiply, same way I did before, x times x. That gives me x squared. Now if I do my outer, that's going to be negative 1 minus the square root of 2. So I'm going to distribute this negative first. That's going to be negative 1 plus the square root of 2 times x. So I'll just do plus x times negative 1 plus the square root of 2. And the reason it's a plus is because I have to distribute this negative to the negative 1 and to the negative square root of 2. So that turns that into a plus. Let's do the inner now. And that's taking this piece here and multiplying it by x. So again, I need to distribute this negative. So that's going to be a negative 1 minus square root of 2x. So that's going to be, I'm just going to leave it as plus x times negative 1 minus square root of 2. And now the last part of this is where I have to really think about it. And that's where I'm taking this term times this term. So I'm going to move this all over a little bit and give us some room. Not like that. So let's give ourselves some room here. So I'm doing use a color I haven't used yet. 1 plus the square root of 2 times 1 minus the square root of 2. So I have to treat this just like I'm foiling, or just distributing twice. So 1 times 1 is plus 1. 1 times the negative square root of 2 is negative square root of 2. 1 times positive square root of 2 is plus square root of 2. Then last, I do square root of 2 times negative square root of 2. Since I'm multiplying, that's the square root of 4. So that's just 2. So it's a minus 2. Now let's cancel this. I have negative square root of 2 plus root 2. Those cancel out. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Look to the inside. My x squared stays x squared. Distribute my x. That's negative 1x. Distribute the x times square root of 2. That's plus x square roots of 2. Distribute my x again. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. X times negative root 2, that's minus x root 2. Now here I have a plus x root 2 and minus, so those cancel each other out. Negative 1x minus 1x gives me negative 2x. So this whole thing simplified down to x squared minus 2x minus 1. And that's times x squared plus 4. And times x minus 3. So we've done all that to get to this point so far. Now we're not even close to done yet. We still have to distribute some things. First, I'm going to distribute my x squared to each of these terms. That's going to give me x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd minus x squared. Just doing x times x squared, that's x to the 4th. X squared times negative 2x is negative 2x cubed. And then x squared times negative 1 is negative x squared. Now I have to multiply the 4 by each of these. 4 times x squared gives me a positive 4x squared. 4 times negative 2x, that's minus 8x. And 4 times negative 1 is minus 4. Simplify. X to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 3x squared minus 8x minus 4. But I still need to distribute my x minus 3 to each of these. So the x is going to distribute to each one of these. It's going to be x to the 5th minus 2x to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd minus 8x to the 2nd and minus 4x. Then multiply everything by negative 3. That's negative 3x to the 4th. Negative 3 times negative 2 is a positive 6x to the 3rd. Negative 3 times negative 8x gives me plus 24. Sorry, I skipped the 3x squared. Negative 3 times 3x squared, that's negative 9x squared. Then negative 3 times negative 8, that's plus 24x. And negative 3 times negative 4 gives me a positive 12. Now I combine my like terms. X to the 5th minus 5x to the 4th plus 9x cubed All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. Buck just walked in here and I had my headphones in. I couldn't even hear him. Turned around, he just scared the life out of me. So I'm gonna need a second here. You can tell my nine got a little shaky too. So let's do 5 bonus points for Buck scared me. You're gonna send me an email that says Buck scared me. You get 5 bonus points. All right, minus 17x squared, negative 4 plus 24 gives me plus 20x, and then plus 12, and I am finally done. I can tell you straight up, I won't give you one that's that complicated, unless I might make it a bonus. However, you have to show me all your steps for these. So, make sure I'm getting those steps from you. All right, we're going to do some additional practice problems now. So if I had a problem like this, I would need to use my P over Q first. This is P. This is Q. It's a 1. Find your factors. Factors of P are plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 3, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 6, and plus and minus 12. Q, my factors are just 1, plus and minus. So my P over Q is really all of these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12. So now I'm going to put this into Desmos. It's going to be x to the third minus 6x squared minus 2x plus 12. That's an ugly root. I'm not going to use that one. That's an ugly root. I'm not going to use that one. That one's nice. It's 6 and 0. So I'm going to use 6. Now I do my synthetic division, starting with 6. Since this is x to the third, I know that I'm going to end up with 3 roots. So that's 6, then it's 1, negative 6, negative 2, and 12. I said 12 and wrote 13. So those numbers come from up here. Bring down the 1. 6 times 1 is 6. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. Negative 2 plus 0 is negative 12. No, it's not. It's negative 2. I've already moved on to the next step. Negative 2. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. So I don't have a remainder. 6 is a factor. We already knew that. Now, I start with negative 2. That's my constant. Then I go up a power of x each time. 0x to the first, and that's a plus, and then x to the second with a 1 in front of it. Since it's a 1, I don't have to write it. Since this is 0x, it disappears. I have x squared minus 2 equals 0. Now I can do this from here. All I have to do is add my 2 to the other side. X squared equals 2. Take the square root of both sides. That gives me x equals plus and minus square root of 2. It's x to the third was my beginning equation. So my x's, or my roots, are 6, negative root 2, and root 2. If you put that into the calculator, that's going to give you 1.414, which was our other root that we saw, or our other 2 roots that we saw for those equations. Let's do another example. Here we have x to the fourth minus 16. So my p is my last number, or my constant. My q is just 1. To the fourth power, there's going to be 4 roots. Let's find the factors of p. It's going to be plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 8, and plus and minus 16. Q is just 1 again. That tells me these are all of my p over q's. Put my equation into Desmos. And I get a root here and a root here. So it's negative 2, 0, and 2, 0. Let's do our synthetic division now. I'll pick positive 2 just because it's easier, but I know that there's a good chance I'm going to end up having to do them both. My first coefficient is 1, and that's x to the fourth. There's no x to the third, no x to the second, no x to the first, and then it's just minus 16. Don't forget to put your placeholders in. This was x to the fourth. I have to have a 0 x to the third in. Don't forget to put those placeholders in. Without those, it's going to mess up the entire problem. 2 times 1 is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 0 plus 8 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Negative 16 plus 16 is 0. Count my terms. I still have 4. I can't stop synthetic division until I have 3. So I move on to the next root that I saw from Desmos, which was negative 2. Bring down the 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. I have 3 terms now. Fill them back in. I have 4, 0x to the first, so that's gone. And then x to the second. Set that equal to 0. And now solve. Subtract my 4 over. X squared equals negative 4. Take the square root of both sides. That gives me x equals, when I'm taking the square root of a negative, I have to break it up. Negative 1 times 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative 1 is I. So I have plus and minus 2i. My roots are x equals 2, negative 2, and then you can either write 2i and negative 2i, or you could write plus and minus 2i. I'm fine with either. Next one. Find my factors of negative 15. That's 1 plus and minus, 3 plus and minus, 5 plus and minus, and 15 plus and minus. Take my factors of q. That's just plus and minus 1. It won't always be 1, but this number's a 1. That's all that there is. Do p over q. That gives me all of these factors. Put my equation into Desmos. Have x to the fourth minus 2x to the third minus 14x to the second minus 2x minus 15. Look at my points. I have a negative 3 and a 5. That's where I'll start. Bring down my numbers for synthetic division, those coefficients. I'll start with the 5. Doesn't matter which one I start with. 1, negative 2, negative 14. Make sure you don't need to fill any zeros in as placeholders. Bring down the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. Negative 14 plus 15 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. Negative 15 plus 15 is 0. Count my terms. I still have 4. I have to do synthetic division again. The other one that I had was a negative 3. Bring down the 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. I only have 3 terms. Start backfilling. It's a 1 with no x, and 0x to the first, so 0 times anything is 0. Don't even have to do it. And then 1x squared. Set that equal to 0. Subtract my 1 over. X squared equals negative 1. Take the square root of both sides. I have 2 complex roots. Square root of a negative 1 is I. It's plus and minus I. All of my x's are 5, negative 3, and plus and minus I. All right, that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to do some more examples of where we have to do the complicated ones, like multiplying them out, and then I'll give you another homework assignment tomorrow. Have a good